Hey, new parents. I'm Brian, and welcome back to the Dad Life. When my first kid was born, I remember being in the hospital with my wife, and I was pretty nervous about picking up my kid. I mean, I've held babies before, but this was different. It was my own child, and I didn't want to mess anything up. I didn't want to injure them by accident or do something wrong, and they were so fragile, right? There were a lot of emotions going on at that time, and I remember just thinking that my son was so small and I didn't want to break him in some sense. Anyway, if I don't know if any of you have ever felt the same way or if you're currently feeling that way, but if you are, then you're not alone. I'm going to show you some simple ways to hold your little one, which will hopefully help you feel more confident and you'll become a pro in no time. First things first, just remember that your baby is really resilient. Babies are designed to come into the world through a pretty intense delivery process that guys, you and me, will never truly understand. And just imagine the amount of pressure, the stress, and the force that the baby is going to go through as they go through this experience. And guess what? Things usually turn out well. Now, I know that there are babies that are delivered via C-section and other ways, but in general, babies are designed and created to withstand this type of delivery. So my point is, babies can endure a lot. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be careful, but at the same time, you don't have to be overly worried or anxious that you're going to break them by picking them up, as long as you do things safely. So the first hold that I'm going to show you is the standard carry, where the baby's head is nestled in your elbow and your forearm is supporting their back, kind of like this. And you can carry them in either arm and switch in the middle if you start to get tired. Your baby will usually be swaddled in a blanket in the first few days and weeks, so it'll kind of be like carrying a little burrito in your arm. And if you want practice on this beforehand, you can swaddle a teddy bear, kind of like this, or other stuffed animals like I show in this video over here, and you can try it out yourself. So the next is a football hold, where you can carry the baby in one arm essentially, where your hand is supporting their head and their neck, and your arm is supporting their back. And just like you would with a football, their feet would be nestled under your armpit, and that's gonna keep them secure. And you might not do this on day one, but you will be able to start doing this within the first month, as long as you feel comfortable doing it. Now, the third method is the shoulder hold. And so holding your baby against your shoulder is also a good way to hold your baby safely. And you'll want to make sure that you're supporting their neck well, because their neck muscles aren't developed yet and they're going to be pretty floppy. And you'll notice they might go like this a little bit. So you're going to want to support their bum with one arm and make sure that your other hand is supporting their head and their neck with the other arm. And you can usually adapt this pretty easily and do skin to skin contact while you're sitting down and have them lie on your chest like this. Now, the next one is the airplane hold. And I don't know if this is the official name, but you'll get the point. We started doing this when our baby's neck was a little bit stronger and they were able to start tummy time. Now, in the beginning, he didn't really like tummy time and he would only last about 10 seconds on the ground before getting pretty irritated. And a pediatric physical therapist who was evaluating him for normal growth recommended doing this airplane hold, which is essentially doing tummy time in the air. So when you're doing tummy time and they're on the ground, you can scoop your arm underneath them, starting from their bottom to their chest, and then you can pick them up and they'll be resting horizontally on your arm. And their chest will rest on the palm of your hand, and that will give them kind of a new view to look at the world, because they're doing tummy time in the air instead of on the ground. Now I'm going to show you some tips for how to do some tricky handovers that you might be wondering about. Now, I remember trying to awkwardly receive and also give my baby to other people in the first couple of weeks, and it took me a while to get comfortable with doing this seamlessly, if you will. So the first one is how to receive a baby from someone else, which isn't hard. All you have to do is position your arms as if you would for a standard hold, and the person giving you the baby can then place the baby in your arms right in that little pocket. Now, handing a baby to someone else can be a little bit tricky in the beginning. I remember kind of doing this awkwardly at first, and then they would be struggling to receive the baby, and so it was just a little bit weird. Now, if your baby's in a standard hold like this, handing him over to someone else can be a little bit tricky, but it's actually fairly easy once you figure it out. I typically like to shift my hands so that the hand closest to their neck will move up to support their neck like this, and then the other arm will move down to their lower back and bum, and then I can just simply hand them over to someone else like this and put them into that pocket. Now, the next one is how to pick up a baby when they're lying down and maybe they're sleeping. You want to do this smoothly without disturbing them too much. It's pretty simple, but it does take a little bit of practice. Picking up a baby that is lying down on their backs from their armpits is pretty jarring if they're maybe asleep and you want to try to keep them in that state. Instead, try this method. Take the hand that's closest to their head and put that underneath their head and their neck, and then take your other hand and scoop it underneath their lower back and their bum, and then swivel and pivot the hand underneath their head into the opposite elbow for that standard hold. And it's really simple once you get the hang of it. And you can do this in reverse in order to put them down gently like this. So you're just using the hand that's underneath their bum as the pivot point, and you're just gently rotating them, and you can put them into the pocket. Okay? So putting your baby down, there's gonna be some times where you need to hold your baby to rock them to sleep, and then once they're asleep, then the next big mission for you is trying to put them down without waking them up. So in the beginning, I used to try to put my baby down from the standard hold directly into a bassinet like this, and then try to slide my arm out. But this usually caused them to wake up because there was a lot of arm length to travel up, and it would wake them up eventually. So if you're in their standard hold, simply take your opposite arm and put it underneath their head and neck, and then swivel it back out so that the baby is being held by both of your hands. And then all you have to do is when you put them down, slide your hands out from underneath, and it's a lot less disruptive. All right, that's it for today. And hopefully some of these tips will help you out. If you have any other tips, please leave them in the comments section below so that other people can learn. Also, go ahead and subscribe if you want more practical parenting tips and product recommendations. I'll see you next time on The Dad Life.